everyone. It's September 14, 2022, 9:30. Market just opened and I am here looking for my setup. So right now we did see the SPY pulling back. So we are just going to be patient and wait for our setup. So today I'm looking at Square. Square had gapped down 3.8%, but I am looking at SPY as well. SPY is opening at an inside bar, so it has not made up its mind on what it wants to do. This one is very bearish. I just missed an entry right there, an opening range breakdown, so I'll let it run without me. This one, not enough volume as well. ALT heading VWAP. ALT is 48 million shares. So my thought process is 11.47. Spread is a bit bigger than usual, so I'll look for anything that will give me a good entry on this for the short side. Okay, so for this trade, I saw Starbucks or SBUX that is respecting that VWAP. It's also above that pivot point, so I entered long there with the expectation that it will try to go and test the high of the day. So it took a while for this one to stop me out, but the first trade that I did for SBUX, I got stopped out. My stop loss got hit immediately. It was placed below that VWAP, and that third bearish candle got me stopped out. So that was the first trade. Gave me a loss of around $100. So that's the nature of trading. We can't 100% predict where is it heading. We can only manage our risks. So I saw there's a big volume in level 2. So the reason why I re-entered this one at the VWAP is because of that confirmation in level 2 as well as the tape. And sure enough, as soon as I entered it, there were a lot of volume in the asked side, which is very bullish just because they are waiting to get filled on a higher price. And once that higher price is filled, that level of ceiling or that resistance is gonna break open, and this has the capacity to pop, and that's how we get to see that this stock pop all the way to that price level. So at this point, it is trying to get higher than the previous candlestick. So I took some partial there. And moving my stop loss above my entry to protect my profit. It took a while for this stock to move on the direction that I predicted. So at this time, I do have that unrealized profit, but I just took a partial, so I'm waiting for another leg up for this stock. If this stock doesn't go higher to what I expect it to be, which is the test of that high of the day, then I can get step out still with a profit, and that's the way to protect a trade. So while I'm waiting for that trade, I was looking at this X as well as Rivian scanning my gap up as well as my gap down list, waiting for the next trade. If I get step out with that current trade that I'm in, then I know which stock I'll be trading next. So it still haven't stopped me out, but still is moving so slowly. We're now trying to get past that previous candlestick there, and it just got me step out. And this candlestick right here is very bearish now, just because it is forming an inverted hammer as seen in 2-minute chart. So all out. Now I saw Oxy trade, and what I wanted to do here is a VWAP as well as a pivot point play. So it is respecting the VWAP as well as the pivot point, specifically in that 15-minute chart. The daily chart is also very bullish, so I entered long there. With a very tight stop loss at that low of that body of that candlestick. Now a better stop loss would be below that pivot point, but considering that my entry is not the best, the usual trade that I would do here, but since I was initially on a different trade, I missed a good entry, which is a bounce from that pivot point. So considering that I did not get to enter this one at that touch of the pivot point, the risk now is higher just because my stop loss is above the pivot point. So for this trade, it took a while for me to get step out, but I did take a couple of stab with the Oxy trade. Now I'm looking at the 5 minutes, the 2 minutes, the 15 minutes, as well as the daily chart. Daily chart, we are heading into that moving average, serving as a good resistance line there. Now level 2 as well as the tape is not giving us any clue on which stock this is heading, but it does have that very bearish form that I am just about to get step out. And yes, my stop loss got hit, got step out here. That's the risk of having a too tight stop loss, but just like what I mentioned, I missed a good entry because I was trading a different stock. Now thought process here is on the 2-minute chart, it is respecting that moving average, so I entered again, and now I'm just placing my stop loss just because the initial thesis is still valid. So now my stop loss is there. Still not the best stop loss because my entry is not the best. It's at the top of the VWAP. So waiting for either get me step out or test and break that previous candlestick, which is a hammer, that white candlestick. Now I did not like that it opened below that closing body of that red candlestick. Now it can go either direction, either above or below, and get me step out. So I'm looking at the 15-minute chart and trying to see whether there's any support line that would serve and support my thesis, and it did pass through my stop loss, so I just manually get a stop out of that. And that's the thing about having a stop loss. Sometimes when the price goes too low and it passed through the stop loss, you cannot get filled. So once I drag down the mouse to have it get me filled, that means I am having it as a market instead of a limit order. So now it's a market order, and that got me stop out. So at this point, yes, I am over trading. I did take another stab on this just because I was still expecting this one to break that previous 2 5 minutes candlestick. And if this one breaks that two previous candlestick that is in the 5 minutes, then we can create a momentum. The reason why I was still bullish is we still have that hammer on that 5 minutes candlestick, that three candlestick from the 5 minutes, and the previous candlestick in the 5 minutes, which is a red candlestick, has not a lot of volume. That means going to the low side does not have a lot of momentum, thus having that thesis to still be valid. But of course it's not 100%. That's why I still have that stop loss right there. So this is the third stab at this stock. Now what I don't like about this stock is in the 2 minutes, although that third to the right candlestick is a huge candlestick, that white candlestick there, but I did not like that the volume is just average. The average volume indicates that there's not a lot of momentum for this stock to either go higher or lower. So that indicates that we can head to consolidation with this stock. And that's what we are seeing right now. So it took longer. It's already 10:10 and it's still consolidating. At this point, my thought process is I don't like my capital to get tied on a specific stock at this time, just because there's a lot of stocks that are very active at this time. But I am patiently waiting and just trying to see whether it will work on my favor or it will turn against me. For this recording, I did try to fast forward the rest of my trade just to save time. I traded until in the afternoon today, so to save time, I fast forward some of them, especially at the end of this recording, to save time, as I mentioned, and to cut this one to around 35 minutes trading recap. So at this point, I fast forward this. We are now at 2 times speed and it's still under consolidation. So my stop loss got hit. So I am now looking at the next trade, which is VIAF. What I saw here is a VWAP play. VWAP has turned into a very strong support. The level 2, as you saw, just have massive volume in the asks, as well as the tape have been printing greens as well as bright greens, meaning very bullish, because what's happening is traders are actually getting into the trade above the asked price, meaning they did not want to miss any of the trade. That's why they're willing to get filled even with a higher price. So that pop right there, I entered at that respect of VWAP and got the move that I wanted. So I was all out by then. Now the X trade, what I was looking for here is a reversal play. So X trade was very bearish at the open, very weak, and now it has been consolidating in that 5-minute candlestick. It had been on the 4 at least, that had been on that range, so meaning it is losing that momentum for this stock to go lower. So I have a thesis to have this one on a reversal going higher with a very tight stop loss. What I don't like about this is it does not have a lot of volume from that previous candlestick looking at the 2-minute chart. So when I enter there, I have that stop loss and immediately I got hit on that stop loss that I placed. Now the thesis is still valid, so I re-entered this one, putting my stop loss now and waiting for this if this is gonna give me the setup that I wanted. One of the reasons why I entered this one is for the 5-minute chart, that third to the last red candlestick has low volume compared to the previous one, and that is a bearish candlestick. And for me, seeing that is just telling me that it has lost its momentum for this one to go lower. It can be just because that fourth candlestick to the right, that white one, can be just profit takers trying to cover their shares, and that's why we have those white candlestick. And this one might as well be profit takers, but I see there's a pop right there at the 2-minute chart, and that pop right there was good enough for me to be on the green trade. The only thing is I did not get to take any partial because it just went so quick, and I was waiting for this one to move closer to VWAP and even try to test that and touch that 9 EMA in the 5-minute chart. Now Oxy was looking at that as well, forming that hammer and being respecting the pivot point as well as the moving average. With this X trade, my stop loss is about to get hit. There's a lot of sellers, and that can also be seen in that tape as well as in level 2. Stacks of volume in the bid side are lining up, which is very bearish. So at this point, it's either it's gonna go higher or I'm gonna bail out, and that bailing out is through the form of that stop loss. And I got stop out, and that trade did not work. I was looking at Oxy initially because of that hammer in the 5-minute chart, so I re-entered Oxy with a moving average and a pivot point play. So it was respecting that pivot point as well as that moving average, looking at the 5 minutes. So I entered long there. I re-entered X again for a reversal just because it haven't broken down that low of the day. So I was thinking that this one is due for a bounce. So back on Oxy. Oxy now did pop on what I expected it to do. X as well is popping. At this point, SPY has been trending higher as well. So this two stocks is being influenced by the movement of the SPY. So at this point, Oxy, I'm moving my stop loss above my break even to protect my profit. And even if this trade right here get me stop out, I am still going to be able to come out profitable on this trade just because it's above my break even. Sure enough, I got stop out in the X trade, and let's see, the X trade I did added to my position, but now it's turning against me. So the X trade, all throughout the trade that I did for this, it's very bearish. It's so hard to read the X trade because there's not a lot of clue that I get to see in level 2 as well as tape. So all I can do here is to manage my risk through my position size, as well as my stop loss. I do admit that this one is a bit of over trading. I got stop out again, because in my trade book, if I get stop out 3 times, that means I am not able to read the stock effectively, so I should not have been touching the oxy. But at this time, or that X trade, it was so flat that I was expecting it for the reversal, and yeah, it did get me stop out a couple of times. And that's the thing about not respecting the market and not trying to see the price action and just going about your own thesis. So this one had me a bit on over trading side, and that's why this X trade is the one that I've accumulated the biggest loss. So BIF and the X is the one that I keep flipping back and forth the chart, because those two are the one that I have a current open position. I did fast forward this just to save some time. For the Oxy, I re-entered long. For the X, I still have my open position to the long side with the stop loss at the loss of that low of the day. Very slowly and still under that consolidation. This is the kind of trade that I don't like, because it's already 11:34 and I'm still in this X trade. The kind of trade that I like is an opening range breakout or breakdown, just because immediately I can get a resolution whether that one is going against me or is going on the direction that I predicted. This one I got step out again on the X trade. It tested that low of that previous low of the day, and that was the last trade on the X that I did. So now I have an open position on that X. Remaining open position, yeah, small shares, but yeah, this would be the last trade for this X trade, because obviously I'm not able to read it effectively, and that reversal strategy that I'm doing is not working. So it's 12 now and I'm still in this X trade. I am usually done trading by around 11 at the most, 11:30 the latest. And yeah, with this trade at 12, that is taking too much time, and I did not like that kind of a trade. So just looking at the rest of my gap up, gap down lists and seeing if it's forming a setup. In X, I'm waiting for this trade still to test that VWAP and see whether it can even break that VWAP. So I gave it some time for this trade to be able to test and go beyond VWAP, but from 12:25 and couple more minutes after, it's just been under consolidation and not doing a lot. So this trade is not my kind of trade. It's, for me, this is a waste of time. I don't like being stuck under consolidation. So it's now trending higher above that entry. The entry that I have is that blue line. So although it's still above that entry that I have, I was not taking some partial just because I expect this one to break above VWAP. And there's a pros and cons of not taking partial. If I took partial there, then I could have taken some profit, put some money in the pocket, and not turn this one into a losing trade. Although it did not not get to totally touch the entry that I have, but at this point, that move, I already lost that big move right there. So thought process here is, if this one does not give me that move, then I'll just close this position, and what I'll do is look for a different stock that will give me an opportunity to trade either to the long side or to the short side. So now it's one still stuck to this X trade, still under consolidation and not doing anything at all. So yeah, it went past through that the blue line. I'm still have a green unrealized profit here, but at this point again, it's just taking so much of my time, so I just closed my position. I saw another opportunity in BIAF. It's respecting the VWAP and consolidating there, so I expect this one to give me a bounce. So I entered there with the expectation that it will bounce, and sure enough it did. Had that flush of tape as well as lots of volume in the S side, which is very bullish. So at this time I saw HKD. HKD is a stock that had been halted a couple of times today. So while I was trading BIF, I was watching HKD just because it had hit the scanner and it had been halted a couple of times for the day. So I was just waiting for me to finish the BIF trade, so I will be able to look closer to HKD. So now my stop loss got hit in BIF. So now I'm all out BIF, and I have a small position in ALT. And even here, I did close my position just because I wanted to watch and have my capital on HKD. So this one is a hold play. Okay, so at this point, I saw HKD and it had been on this stock hold. So I entered a small position, and sure enough, it is just very volatile. If you can see here, the movements that it had been through for today is from 60 or around 55 all the way to 289. So I was looking at the Finviz and the news, and it did not give me any news at all. So no one really knows what's going on here. But as a day trader, we are technical analysts, so it's giving me an opportunity to go long, and that's what I did. So there are this gray in the S side, meaning we are about to go into another hold here. So at this point, the price there is around 150s, 151, and I am still in with a couple of shares there for a long position, about to get halted again. And with a halt, there is some reason why a halt is happening. It can be because of significant news. For this one, there's no news at all. Also, another reason for a halt is it can be because the stock had moved more than 10% in its price within that 5 minutes, and exchanges are trying to hold it just to protect both traders and investors. Another reason why a stock hold can happen is SEC or Securities and Exchange Commission is imposing a restriction on a particular share for trading. So at this point, I re-entered the position, moving my stop loss above my break even, and it did get to halt again. So another halt here, and I just fast forward it. It's now 211. So sure enough, it went and had that gap. Very strong stock. I re-entered long again. Very small position there, but even if with that small position, it still was able to capture this move, and we are about to get halted again. So that gray area on the ask column is just showing that we are about to get halted, and just close enough is still on, and yep, just got halted there. So now it's 14 or 2:11 in the afternoon. I just fast forward it. It's 2:17 now, and it just got up again. So very strong. Took some partial there, moving my stop loss now so I can protect my profit. And as soon as I move that stop loss, look at how it just went so quickly that it went so low, and just got me step out with that stop loss that I placed. So at this time, it got halted again. So this is the third halt that this stock had been since I was in this stock or this trade. So now moving my stop loss to protect my profit, moving it all the way, and it just got me step out. So that is the last trade that I have, and that trade right there is already 17,000 for just going from 60 all the way to 290. So that is how you trade a stock that is going on a halt. Halt stocks can be very volatile as well as can be very risky. So unless you have a trade book in trading a stock under halt, then you should not touch or even trade this kind of stock, just because if it goes against you, then it can easily wipe your account out. So I hope you had a green trading day, and as always, keep it green, and I'll see you next time.